We are installing our K10611 high and tight LS bracket right here. It's going to mount the truck alternator here, the P-series power steering pump here, and we're going to pair that up with our high and tight mini AC compressor bracket here. This is for truck spacing. We're going to be bolting it here to the cylinder head just outside of the water pump, and then down here at the very bottom, we'll get the front plate mounted up, and then that'll allow us something to build off of for the rest of the bracket. We're going to start by taking two of our 120 millimeter bolts and installing them here and here. So we'll do that now. There, and then we will take the smaller outside diameter, goes up top, larger outside diameter goes down. Let's install it on the engine. I like to start by doing the bottom bolt first to get it threaded in there. I recognize if you guys are doing this install while it's inside the engine bay, that'll be a little bit more difficult, but then it just rotates up very nicely and it will hold its own weight while you screw in the top. I want to draw your attention to the fact that this is a 3/4 inch tube because this is a 2010 and later Camaro water pump. We made this bracket so you can use the lower intake, but some of the castings on these can be a little bit thick right here. So this 3/4 inch tube here gives us the clearance that we need in order to screw that in. All right, let's take another 120 millimeter bolt. It's going to go right through here into the cylinder head there. But first, we need to put on a 2-inch tube. And then actually, we'll go ahead and sandwich in the rear plate there. Just kind of let that lay like so. And then we have a 1 9/16 inch. And then you just allow that to thread in there. Leave it very loose so we can do the other side. Just repeat. Come in through here, 2-inch. Rotate this up into space here, trying to stay out of the way of the camera there for you guys. And then once again into the cylinder head. And we'll leave this loose for right now, and we'll move on to the next step. The next step is to install the alternator. This bracket actually has a dual bolt pattern, so it would accept a Corvette overrunning clutch alternator if you so desired. But for this, we're just using our in-house PowerMaster alternator. It has the small case like this. This does fit the larger case as well, so whichever LS alternator you have, more than likely, bolts up right here, no problem. And then we just add the nuts on the back. And we're ready to move on to the next step. Now that we have the alternator installed, we're going to torque down these 6 bolts here, 10 millimeter bolts, so we're going to take that to 37 foot-pounds. All right, now we're ready to install the idler. All right, so now we're going to install this idler right here. This can be done in an earlier step if, like, once again, you're doing this in the engine bay sort of thing. 12 millimeter bolt, idler mount, idler pulley, and then 12 millimeter flange nut. Now, we will go ahead and torque this down while we're here. It becomes very difficult to get to once the power steering pump is on. This is a 12 millimeter bolt, so we're going to torque this down to 50 foot-pounds. Now, oops. There we go. All right. Time for the power steering pump. Next, we're going to install the power steering pump, but first I want to draw your attention to the back side. Most of the time there's 2 studs right here. We're going to go ahead and remove those for this installation so they don't interfere with anything. We'll be mounting up on these 2 studs here and right here. The spacers for that are already in the back, so we'll just slide this up into place here. And 40 millimeter bolt through the top. Takes a little bit of wiggling, but you can get it there, no problem. And then just a little bit the same way over here, just kind of wiggle it till it lines up in the hole. And then 30 millimeter bolt goes over here on the shorter side. And we'll go ahead and torque those down now. These are 10 millimeter bolts, so we call out a torque spec of 37 foot-pounds. Do want to do this before we put the pulley on for sure, because then you won't be able to access them. Next, we will install that pulley. Now we're going to install the pulley onto the power steering pump here. It's really annoying the way that GM did this without any holes so that you can't get to these bolts, but so in order to do this, you have to go on and off with it. It is okay to put a little bit of power steering fluid right here to lube it up, and then this just screws on there like so. Once again, this is one of those jobs that doing it outside the engine bay is much easier, especially without the radiator there. But anyway, you screw this in, screw this down like so, and we actually have a little bit of a trick where we actually take our impact now. When you're doing this, you want to stop as soon as you see this stop rotating so that you don't accidentally pull the threads out of here. Now we just simply go the opposite way, like that. And we check when we do that to make sure that, I'll show you here. Let me get this unscrewed real quick, a little greasy. That this is flush here, no impediments anywhere. It gives it a nice spin. We're ready to go. Last step is to install the belt. Now, you'll look at our belt chart and you'll see that there's several different options for you depending on if you have this AC bracket and compressor or HD bracket and compressor. Also, 2 other belt lengths if you're not running an AC over here and just using the tensioner. For this one here, we're going to use the one called out for the mini compressor. I'm going to switch sides for you guys. One of the tips I like to do is use the bell of the water pump as the last pulley so that it comes down here and slides on very nicely. So alternator size will determine belt length as well. If this was a high output large case, that actually moves the center line a little bit. This belt would have to be just slightly longer. What we're going to be looking for is right here. We want the travel to be somewhere in the center between these 2 stops. Also, as time goes on, this will also take a bit of a set into the grooves and the belt will stretch slightly. So it's something to monitor over time as well. You want a pretty tight belt on there so that as it wears in, it comes to the correct spot. If you have any questions, we're always available. Give us a call.